Hi, I'm Danny.
Hi, I'm Mel, and we're the Sheehan sisters.
In today's video, we decided to check in once again on a millennial icon that we grew up with. Today, we are checking in on Amanda Bynes. We grew up watching Amanda Bynes on All That, What I Like About You, and many of her movies that she's been in. And we recently discovered that she had an art show. I know she's no longer in the Hollywood spotlight, but I thought it would be a great time to check in on her because Mel and I are both artists as well, and I was super excited to see that she is also creating art and put on her very own art show.
Yes, it was so exciting to see her just back and happy and doing something that she loves. And I actually went on her Instagram recently and she had posted on her story a few screenshots of a text message between her and a friend. And I wanted to share that because it kind of encompasses what we're going to talk about in this video. So I'm assuming these messages came after her art show, and her friend writes, honestly, I feel like this all fits so well with who you are. You're kind of like on another level, like you approach life from a different angle than most people I've met. I can see you always being a step ahead of people and them kind of always catching up, which is the role artists play in society, pushing people into new territory. I don't know, I really feel you're onto something here. From an outsider perspective, of course, you would know best. And then she says, you're so sweet. You know, I feel the same way about you. Your art is legendary. I just hope you'll push yourself to do a show or to sell online. I would gladly post about your art when you decide to do that. And then her friend replies, I'm deaf over here asking myself why my first thought was, yeah, I could sell art in maybe like 10 years, lol. This is a very confronting conversation. Thank you for the encouragement. Sincerely, it's so true. Like, what are we living for? I should be expressing myself. Thank you. And then her reply is, I agree. I told you this when we went to Nate and Al's, but I just want to remind you, I went to this actress's art show, and she just mentions who the actress is and their Instagram. It was held at a private gym. Her art for sale was shown sitting on top of gym weights. Her art was selling like hotcakes. Plus, it was a low-key, chill show. I thought, I've been making art that I believe in since I was young. Why don't I do an art show, you know? I'm so glad I did it too. I believed in my talent. It paid off. I hope you walk away inspired by what I accomplished and do something big yourself. And I thought it was really nice that she shared that moment between her and her friend and just showed like a real honest conversation. It just reminded me of conversations that Danny and I have had with one another.
And let me tell you, this is the type of support I'm looking for in 2025 when I build friendships.
So we just want to show you guys some videos and pictures from her art show. And we want to talk about how, you know, as artists, because I think people forget seeing her as a celebrity that she is in fact an artist, and that comedy was an art form that she started in. But in these text messages, she's expressing how she's always had other art in her and has been wanting to share it. And I love that she's doing that now in her life.
Me too. One thing Mel and I have spoken about is that people tend to keep you trapped in one specific category. Like if you're an actor, an actress, they think you're going to act for the rest of your life and feel like you're obligated to stay in that one lane. But one thing I took from seeing Amanda doing her art show is that there are multitudes of art forms, like Mel was saying, and we were very much inspired by her comedy growing up. And one thing Mel and I do want to showcase more is our comedic side, and that is definitely part of artistry. So maybe that's not something she's doing anymore. She found a way to utilize her creativity in another outlet, and it's super exciting to see, especially because Mel and I did our very first art gala last year, back in 2024, March of 2024. And seeing her text message with her friend reminded Mel and I of our conversations over the course of, I don't know, we started talking about doing an art show back in 2017.
Right.
When we first created our poetry page, we always wanted to tie in our poetry and our art and create prints of our poetry, which we actually brought to life last year. And we were just like, you know what? There's no time like the present. Like, how much more are we going to say, like, oh, in the future we're going to do this, in the future we'll have that. We just started planning little by little, and of course, looking back, there are things we would do differently, but ultimately we brought to life something we've talked about for years. And seeing someone like Amanda Bynes, who we grew up with, bringing her art to life is so inspiring, and we couldn't be happier for her to see her still finding ways to pursue her creativity.
Yes, and it really is inspiring because I feel like there's people out there like, oh, what does Amanda Bynes know about art? And people do that to other people all the time where they try to go into a new path and people are like, well, what are you doing here? And I think we need to stop doing that as a society and just let people express themselves in whichever way they feel comfortable, obviously in a loving, safe way that's not going to harm themselves or anyone else. But that's what art is. It's just a form of expression. I think too many be like, well, what even is this? Or look at what she puts out there, what we put out there, like this isn't even good. And art is not about being good or being the best at it. It's just, like I said, a form of expression. It could be really simplistic or it can be super detailed, you know? It doesn't actually have to have, there's no specific thing that art is like, and this it has to look like Van Gogh or it has to look like Picasso or it has to look like Michelangelo. Like no, like it just has to be what you are enjoying and creating and just putting yourself out there and putting your emotions and your feelings onto a canvas or a paper or whatever form of art that you want to do.
Right. And I think most artists overthink and criticize what they're creating because they're trying to achieve a level, I don't know, a specific level in their head that they want their art to be perceived as, and then it stops them from even showing that art because they're already getting in their own head and getting in their own way, when the only way you you really know how it's going to be received or where you want to go with your art is just by doing it and putting it out there. Mm-hmm. And if we never started our poetry page, we wouldn't be the writers we are today. Granted, I'm sure we both want to be further in our writing career, but having that poetry page has really developed my writing skills specifically. And there is more art that I want to create, and I do want to get more into painting. Mm-hmm. And I love that I got to see someone I grew up watching like transform their career, especially considering, you know, some of the paths that Amanda Bynes has went down over the past few years. To be able to, I don't know, revitalize a part of you in a positive way is always admiring.
And I feel like that's the story of most artists. It's like, okay, I went through some shit and I created art out of it. And I feel like, you know, that's kind of like a cliche of art where it's like you take your pain and you turn it into art. And Danny and I have a quote that we created and we post on our page, and It's may the tortured souls continue turning their pain into art. And that's one of our favorite quotes that we have, because that's really like what it's about. You're like, okay, what do I do with all this shittiness? I don't know how else to explain it. And I think a lot of people that I've spoken to are like, well, I don't write poetry, like I don't know how, or like I don't paint, I'm not good at it. And I think that's something, like I said, people focus too much on being good at it, and it's like that's not what art is. Art is not being good at it, you know. It's not this competitive sport, and it shouldn't be. And sometimes with like social media and the world, like people kind of turn it into that, and then it takes away the creativity and the spontaneity and the fun of it. And I that's something Danny and I always wanted to focus on, is like, is are we having fun and are we enjoying this? Because there was a period of time where we're like, okay, how do we create content and how do we create a post that people are gonna like and interact with? And then we fell back and we're like, no, I just want to post my poem, and if you're too lazy to read it, then oh well, like you're missing out on it. Like we don't want to conform to what society now is with the AI art and the two-word, you know, poems. Like we want to put out our full selves, and it's like the people that get it and accept it are going to be the ones that we want to come to our events and come to our page and follow us and support us.
Right, and like you were mentioning how people may look at Amanda Bynes doing a pop-up art show like, what the hell, I didn't even know she creates art. And that's the thing, like there are multiple layers to people, and there's so much talent within all of us and so much passion that we don't get to showcase every element and layer of ourselves because of algorithms, or because you gotta stick to one niche, or whatever the fuck it is. Like Amanda Bynes mentioned in her text message that she's been creating art since she was younger. And that may not be widely known considering her past career, but that's not to say she can't explore that now.
Exactly. And I think there are people who, I think, you know, for most of us, and Danny and I have been there, where you get stuck in your 9 to 5. And sometimes people don't realize that about celebrities. Like sometimes that's really just their job. Like they're really just clocking in and clocking out. And some of them are just kind of showing up to work. And obviously it's a little bit more of a glamorous lifestyle and high paying than what we have to deal with. But a lot of those people are just clocking in and out of their jobs. And sometimes we're doing the same, and we lose what it is we actually want, because we're like, well, this is paying the bills and this is making the money, so let me continue on for that, even if it's like kind of crushing our souls and you know, stressing us out and leading us to be unhappy. And like it's so great to finally like come back to yourself and do the things you really actually enjoy. I wanted to share a line from one of my poems, since we are talking about art and we want to put ourselves out there. And I feel like this relates to Amanda, and maybe she can also relate to it. And it's a line I wrote about myself, but I wrote it in third person. Nothing could have prevented the world from draining all the purity out of her until poetry came pouring out. And I feel like that relates to what I was saying, where sometimes life just drains you so much that like art becomes the only outlet. And I think we all have an artist within us, not to sound like cheesy and cliche and motivational speaker type vibes, but I really do feel like we all have an artist in us, and there's some form of creativity in you that maybe you don't realize, or maybe you've been pushing down, but like it's bound to come out of you. And I hope maybe 2025 is the year of artist, because I've also heard people say that like art is dead or art is dying, or especially like I said with Instagram and social media now, where there's like this new version of it. But I feel like it's being revived, and seeing someone from our childhood and seeing someone who's gone through so much put their art out there, it's just it means a lot. Like if you're someone who creates art, you know how much it means to put yourself out there.
Yes, that was so well said, and I love that quote. That was so beautiful. I feel like I would love to see more of Amanda Bynes' art, and I was letting Mel know that if she does another art show, we should definitely try to make it. I know the last one was in LA, right?
Yes, and we also want to do more of our own art shows. We've talked about this too, like touring different cities, because the one we did was in our home, New York City. But we want to do more art shows, and we want to go to more art shows and support more artists.
I did also want to mention looking at the videos I saw of Amanda at her art show and all the people wanting to take pictures with her, and her ability to set boundaries and be respectful and polite, but also be stern about, you know, the photo taking and just, you know, keeping herself safe and protecting her space.
Thank you, Amanda. Do you mind coming on this side? Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
3, 2, 1. Thank you. 1, 2, 3.
Do you mind zooming out
Zoom out a little bit just so we can get the whole outfit there. There you
yeah,
go.
that too.
Thank you, one real quick here.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for being here.
Oh,
Really
yeah,
appreciate it.
of
It means
course.
So hopefully she just took out all the positives from that experience, because personally when we did our gala, I do criticize a lot of what I do, and I started picking apart things that could have been better rather than appreciating all the things that went really well and were really positive and amazing.
Yeah, I have a tendency to do the same, and I think I just talked about this in a previous video where we don't give ourselves enough credit for the things we have accomplished. Instead, we harp on all the bad or all the wrong, or like, well, this could have been this and that could have been better. And yeah, definitely looking back, it was one of the goals I set for 2024. It was like do the Remedy Art Gala, and it happened, and I'm still so proud of us till this day that we just went out and we did it.
We did it. So if you're watching this video and you have a project that you've been procrastinating on or prolonging to put out into the world, just do it. Go for it. Even if you feel like you don't have all the tools or all the resources, work with what you have in that moment and see what happens, and expand your horizon. Like, don't limit yourself to what you think you're only able to do now. Like, really dream big. And it may not all come together the way you want it to, as big as you want it to be, but again, I just think the message is don't limit yourself, and don't hide your art from the world. Listen, if a banana taped to a motherfucking wall could sell for millions,
Then you can do anything you set your heart to.
we're putting all the cliches in this video, because guess what? Being an artist is being a walking cliche. You gotta accept it.
I'm super excited to see more of what Amanda does in the future, and I'm just so happy for her.
We just relate to her experience, and like we mentioned, we grew up watching her, and she inspired us in so many ways, and we want to see people doing what makes them happy. I feel like we say this on every platform. I agree. I really do hope that she continues to put her art out there and see where it takes her, because we're gonna do the same.
Yes, and let us know if any of you are artists, and comment below if you have a page, or Instagram, and YouTube. Like, what are you working on? We're always looking to connect with new artists.
We did want to do a quick check-in, and we do want to start a series where we check in with our fellow millennials that we grew up with. I'm pretty sure Amanda's a millennial.
Yes, but mainly we're the millennials checking in.
The millennials checking in on icons we grew up with.
Yes, we want to make sure all the people that kind of shaped who we are still doing okay out there.
It's really just the Are You Okay series.
Are the millennials okay? They're not. We look good, but in the inside, it's not going well.
It's not going well, but we're persisting nonetheless.
Check out our previous millennials check on, and we checked on Jesse McCartney, and let us know who else we should check on.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.